Hello, I'm Ethan Fiks, and welcome to my fifth and final installment in my blog about left hand position. We've been talking a lot about square versus more angled hand position and the advantages of each. Even though this is the final installment, there's going to be no winner where we say always use angled or always use square. The answer might be use different hand positions for different situations. The answer might be use a blend of the two hand positions, somewhere in between. All are valid, but hopefully at the very least this blog has gotten you thinking about how you might position your hand to play whatever it is you need to play better. So I want to look at something that's a little bit towards the side again of relaxed hand position. I think to be able to play any instrument well, you have to be relaxed, and that's not always easy to achieve, right? We've seen certain players who are not relaxed at all. But usually relaxed sounds better, feels better, is less tiring for the musician, and is less tiring for the ear as well. At some point or another, you may have been exposed to some of these scale fingerings that involve 3 notes per string, and they tend to be a little bit stretchy because often you're making a stretch of 5 frets. So have you ever seen fingerings that look like... and you could even go past the second octave by a 4th. See, those positions are very cool because they allow you to cover a lot of ground. But one thing that I've noticed is there's something that can be a little bit stiff or rigid about them. I don't know if it's that my pinky is arriving, some number of milliseconds late because of the stretch. You see that I'm doing a 1-2-4 fingering rather than a 1-3-4. That is intended to facilitate the stretch, but it's also, not necessarily the most natural thing. Not as natural as just being kind of like this and within a group of 3 or 4 frets. So what I want to recommend, and the main idea of today's episode, is how we might take those three note per string fingerings that are so popular with shred and with fusion. And again, I'm not saying that people can't use them to great effect. They certainly can. But what I'm saying is, what if we try to kind of cut them in half to still make use of all the nice note coverage that they provide on the neck, but to not have to do as much stretching and to be able to be more relaxed, like I said. So let's look at this fingering here. Let's look at an A Dorian scale, which is 1 sharp, just has F sharps in it, and it looks like this on the fingerboard at the 5th fret. Certainly fingerable with the stretches and all, and if I improvised a little bit with the stretches going on, maybe it would probably still sound good. Here's an example. So certainly nothing terrible about that. It's a valid approach. But one thing that I suggest to make it feel better, and I think it usually does, is to go back to our less stretched out hand position. And that doesn't necessarily mean we're going all angled or anything, or thumb over the back, but maybe we're being a little more angled and relaxed, which is as I keep saying, the goal. So let me do a little improv this way. Basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working the lower half of the scale between frets 3 and 5, and the higher part of the scale between frets really 7 and 10, and kind of shifting, even sliding between them smoothly and with a less stretched out hand. See what you think of how this sounds and even looks, how it lies on the fingerboard. So to me that's a little bit more naturally musical, and since it is so, it's something that I would think of taking advantage. Again, nothing's 100%. I'm not saying I would never stretch. I certainly stretch in a lot of situations, but to kind of make it less, I guess the only word would be rigid. I think that splitting up and eliminating the stretches from the position is very helpful to the ultimate sound. Let's look at one more example before we stop. How about going back to the first scale that I played earlier, which is like a G major scale. Actually, it's the same overall key as the A Dorian. Both have just F sharps in the key signature. So that's all kind of stretchy. But now what if instead of stretching I broke it up a little? Let's see. So I like the effect of that too, and I hope this is a useful, big kind of concept that you can use in your playing, and it certainly applies to different styles, certainly applies to jazz, certainly could apply to blues, even rock, just as a way of straining your hand less and making it more relaxed.